Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining for another session of your Village Vitality series today. My name is Aline, and I will be guiding you through the exercises today. As usual, you'll need a chair, preferably, especially for today, one without arms, although I can give you an alternative to how to orient your body to manage some of the work that we'll be doing with the chair today. Barefoot is best if you can. Of course, if you feel that you really want to keep your footwear on for any medical reasons, then absolutely do that. But there are lots of benefits to being able to move our toes individually, to gripping with the feet when we're barefoot versus in footwear. So definitely recommend it if that's accessible to you. Just make sure that you remove the socks as well, because the socks will make it pretty slippery for our standing postures, even if you're on carpet. Definitely want to remove those. And that's about it for today. So we will be focusing today on finding an internal sense of power. And for a lot of people, we seek power externally. So we automatically feel like we can't do something, we need to get help. And it's not a bad thing to get help, but we're going to explore and tap into the power that's already in us, both maybe mentally, spiritually, but definitely physically today. So today's class will be really centered around core work. And I don't just mean your six-pack abs or getting rid of the belly fat. What I'm talking about is really working all of this musculature, both front and back. So a lot of people underestimate the importance of strong back muscles, and we'll be doing several exercises to help with that today. And we'll be doing a breathing technique that will just help bring focus to this area, diaphragmatic breathing. So I'll guide you through a visualization there. I do want to mention one thing based on some feedback received by folks last week, is legs falling asleep, feet falling asleep, tingling, that sort of thing. And what probably is happening, if there are no other pre-existing conditions that would be causing this issue, is the chair and the way we're sitting on it. So if you're using a dining chair or a wooden chair, or basically something with very minimal padding, and you're sitting at the edge of your seat, what's probably happening is that sciatic nerve. So we have a nerve that runs from the base of the spine down on either side underneath our glutes, so deep in there in the hips, and it runs down the back of the leg to bring all of the other little nerves down to our legs. And so what might be happening is some blood flow and oxygen flow is getting cut off to that nerve. So what may help? A couple different things. If you really want to work on maintaining the posture still and you want to be at the edge of the chair, then what I'm going to recommend is a couple times during centering, so maybe every couple minutes, you just take a little shift and shift. And what that's going to do is if you hold it for a second or two there, you're taking pressure off that one side. It's going to allow for that flow that is maybe blocked a little bit from sitting and perching at the edge, especially again on a hard chair. If you don't want to do that, or you want even more relief, what you may do is try coming a little more to the center of the chair, still remaining upright, still trying to root the feet down, or even all the way to the back. So you have so many options for sitting and centering. So experiment with it. You don't always have to pick the option that I show. So since we're talking about it, let's go ahead and get situated in your chair. Decide how you'd like to sit today. Find as much of a squared positioning as possible, Tadasana or mountain pose. So aligning the feet, the hips, the knees. So we want that hip width apart, heels under knees. With our breathing technique today, the diaphragm, arguably one of the most important breathing muscles, definitely the main breathing muscle. It basically is kind of like an upside down bowl or a jellyfish nestled up in the rib cage when it's relaxed. When we inhale and I bring a bunch of air in my lungs, the diaphragm engages and flattens out and actually presses down on the abdominal organs. So think of the rib cage and ribs as a vessel that has both the ability to change volume and change shape. So when I breathe and bring air in, my volume is changing, my shape is changing, the ribs are expanding, or should be, chest and collarbones are expanding. But my abdomen is a vessel that really doesn't have the capacity for volume change, except elimination. But when I'm sitting here breathing, I'm not experiencing volume change. So I have to be experiencing shape change. So when that diaphragm presses down, because my abdominal organs don't have anywhere else to go, I should feel my belly rise or poke out. And that's a good thing. I think we're trained to try to always constantly engage, like suck it in. But if we're doing that when we're trying to do deep breathing, we're defeating the purpose. And so when I guide you through this breathing technique, I'm going to help you visualize that diaphragm moving as you breathe. So inhaling, flattening out. At the top of that inhale, when you feel like you can't inhale anymore, belly's going to expand. Probably not as much as if you were laying down. So this is a great breathing technique to try reclined when you're totally relaxed. And then when I exhale, abdomen goes in, rib cage and everything kind of sinks in a little bit, and that diaphragm nestles back up into its parachute, jellyfish, bowl shape, whatever you want to visualize, or something totally different. Okay, I think I've done enough talking now. Let's get started. So you've come to your centering positioning. Hands are going to relax on the thighs, or if you would really like to connect with this area of your powerhouse of the core, then you can bring your hands there to the solar plexus space. You could even bring one hand to the chest and one hand to the belly. That's a lovely way to just kind of observe and feel the airflow with your hands. So I'm going to be bringing both hands to the abdomen. And take a moment, maybe roll those shoulders out a couple times, get any wiggles out, any of those easy kinks, or those kinks that it would be easy to get out quickly, so that you can enjoy your seated posture a little bit more with a little less effort or discomfort. And so once you have loosened up a little bit and you're ready to settle in, close the eyes and first observe the posture of the body. Notice if you're leaning forward, slouching, shifting weight more into one side than the other. And don't get too frustrated if you're not able to observe any of these things. It takes time to build that fine-tuned sense of observation. And that's why we practice every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and maybe more if you're doing videos on the off days. But as you make these little observations of posture, see if you can shift the weight so that the shoulders are stacked over the hips, which may actually mean you shift back a little bit, so that there's equal weight in both hips. So maybe you just kind of rock a little bit side to side and find center. And then so that the ears are over the shoulders. Heart is opening. And then begin to envision your rib cage. Not necessarily how many ribs and what exactly that looks like, but just envisioning if you were looking underneath the skin, What does that feel like it would look like to you? And then notice as you're sitting here breathing, any movement that comes to the rib cage. And we'll see if we can increase that movement just by bringing focus and awareness and changing the breathing a little bit. I think there's a big power in manipulating the breath. It's one of our only bodily functions that we can just rely on our body to do, but that we can also change. So there's got to be something to that. And definitely research is showing us with any of our breathing techniques that it definitely helps lung function, but I feel like there might be more to it. So begin to observe now what the diaphragm might look like nestled up into the rib cage. And as you inhale, it engages and flattens out. That belly expands as the ribs expand. And on exhale, everything kind of relaxes. The belly just relaxes and sinks back in, as does the diaphragm. It's actually a sheet of muscle. And so begin to try to deepen the breath to feel that movement. You can't feel the diaphragm engaging, but we can certainly visualize it, focus on it, and feel the movement of the ribs and the abdomen. Deep diaphragmatic breathing is also very beneficial for the cardiovascular system. The diaphragm does connect to a little point at the base of the heart, and so kind of massages the heart in a way when we focus on that deep breathing. So again, on your inhales, visualize the ribs expanding, the diaphragm flattening, pushing down, the abdomen pressing out. Maybe you feel it with your hands. And just allow for 2 to 3 more breaths with this picture in your mind. And if you do have one hand on the heart and one hand on the abdomen, or if your hands are relaxed, go ahead and bring both hands to that space of the solar plexus. And if you'd like to continue trying to visualize the diaphragm and the ribs, please feel free to do that with our next movement. So just begin a few rounds of cat and cow with the hands on the solar plexus. And so really trying to purposefully initiate the movement from that space. And so on my next exhale, I want to engage in that space of the solar plexus. With my hands, I might even be pressing into my abdomen to get that rounding forward. And then with my inhale, still a little bit engaged in the core, I'm pressing forward, trying to push those hands forward and opening. The whole time, shoulders are relaxed. So again, trying to initiate this movement with the abdominals, not by lifting up the shoulders or moving the head. So see if you can create the movement from that space where the hands are, and then allow everything else to follow after. Just a little bit of a different way to move through the spinal flexion and extension, and hopefully a way that connects you a little bit more with that center of power. Energetically, in the practice of yoga, this is Manipura chakra, or city of gems. It's our 3rd chakra, center of power, willpower, determination, transformation. And I do find that interesting. You might think, oh, that's a bunch of silliness, but we do have glands in this area of the body, the adrenal glands. Adrenaline, fight mode, flight mode, power. Take one more round of inhale and exhale. You might feel that this works the shoulders a little bit differently. Go ahead and release that cat and cow, release the arms, roll the shoulders out again if you need to. And we'll continue with that muscular engagement. So let's lift the arms up on an inhale just to shoulder height, crossing the right arm over the left. And you can always drop these arms down whenever you need to if the shoulders start getting really tired or tweaked in any way. And we're going to do the same thing, initiating movement here with a twist. So I want to super engage, especially along my right side. Powerful exhale, maybe even pursed lips. And inhale, center. Exhale to the left. Inhale, center. So the exhale is where I engage, powerfully engage my deep transverse abdominis muscles as well as my external oblique muscles. So just moving slowly at the pace of your breath. It's not so much about how far you twist, how far you can move your arms. It's just really about feeling that muscular engagement in your powerhouse. If you'd like to add a little more, let's do a knee tuck. We got 3 more rounds. So if you'd like to add a little more effort, just tuck that same knee as the side you're twisting to, any amount. Even if you're just lifting that foot an inch off the ground, you'll feel that increase the engagement. 1 more twist to each side. And on an exhale, relax. Swing those arms out. So just crossing one arm over the other, swinging them back, and then switching. All right. A little bit of work now to strengthen the back and stretch the core. We're going to work on a posture called fish pose. Let's do a little wrist release first because we will be putting weight into our hands. So you can just take that left arm out in front of you. Let's have the fingertips down and just stretch the top of that wrist a little bit. Be mindful of your posture here. It's going to be really easy to just dump down and relax. So sit up. Use the core here, not the shoulders, to lift you. And go ahead and switch the stretch. So palm up. Elbow can be bent if you want. We're just trying to stretch across the inside of the wrist now. And these types of things are good to do even when you're not about to put weight in your hands. Go ahead and shake that wrist out. Let's switch. So right arm, palm facing towards me first, stretching across the top of the wrist. And then switching. If your shoulder's getting tired, you can totally relax this arm down. I like to have it up and out. I feel like it just increases the stretch a little bit for me. And so just gently pulling those fingers in, kind of at the palm, not at the fingers themselves, although that can definitely be a different stretch. You can do it that way, but if it's too intense, you're pushing at the palm. And relax, roll that wrist out a little bit. So now that we've done this little bit of release, we're going to bring the hands behind us in fish pose. Traditionally, fingertips are facing in towards the glutes. For some of you, maybe the majority of you, that's not going to be feasible with your wrist flexibility and strength as it currently is. But let's try it out, because the first couple rounds will put hardly any weight into our hands. So I'm actually almost sliding my fingertips under my glutes a little bit. If you are at the back of your seat, go ahead and definitely scoot forward for this one. Be at the edge. So those hands are about hip width apart. And I'm sitting up straight and tall. When you take your next inhale, though, you're going to press into the feet, press into the palms. So I want to push down. Notice how my shoulders are moving back, and you're going to press that solar plexus space forward. So engaging the back muscles to do this movement and stretching the abdominals a little bit. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Let's hold it here for a couple breaths, trying to really just pressing into the hands, pressing into the feet, and lifting up. Don't let that head just fall back. You want to try to keep the neck engaged. On an exhale, when you're ready, go ahead and release that. Relax for a second. Roll out the wrists if you need to, or do your little stretching and releasing. We're going to try that one more time, maybe two more times, with an option to try to lift the hips on the last round. So fingertips facing in. If that was too intense for the hands and just didn't feel right, fingertips can face on the outside of the chair or backwards. So figure out how you're going to move here. Inhale, really hyper engage the back. Press forward, press into the palms. Try not to lock those elbows so they're staying a little bit bent. Just shine that heart forward. Shine that solar plexus forward. One more deep inhale. And on your exhale, relax for a second. Now, with this last one, if you are feeling pretty good about your fish pose and you're able to press weight into the hands and get the whole palm down on your chair, then I'm going to encourage you to try lifting the hips for this last one. So bringing those hands back again, lifting up tall. On your next inhale, press into the palms, press into the feet, open out. And if you feel pretty good here, just test it out first. Please make sure you are not pressing your elbows against the back of your chair, because your chair is going to want to topple backwards. So pressing down, see if you can start to lift the hips away. It might even just be a slight shift of the hips forward and you feel that extra engagement. Really squeeze the glutes. Lift those hips any amount if you can. And you're still breathing here. If you feel that chair moving at all, bring those hips back down. Take one more deep breath if you can. And on an exhale, very slowly bring those hips back down and reposition yourself securely on the chair. Nice effort. Let's take an inhale to send those arms now out in front. Exhale, shift back, keeping length in the spine until you feel that whole solar plexus space, and probably even further down and further up. Really engage. Straighten out that right leg. Let's go ahead and reach forward as far as you can without the back rounding. And then exhale, reach back. So we're doing a half boat pose, and this kind of like rocking boat. We're coming up on some waves in the water here. So rocking forward to get a little stretch in the hamstrings, rocking back to engage the core. Couple more rocks here. If those arms are getting super tired, see if you can stay with it to really strengthen the shoulders. But of course, always can drop those hands down. Let's take one more rock back. Hold here. See if you can lift that leg. Any amount, even if it's an inch. Notice, though, when you lift, does your back start to round? And if that's the case and you can't straighten the back, bring that heel back down. Whew. One more breath here. Deep inhale. And exhale. Stretch forward. Reach, reach. Hands come to that left thigh. Please be very mindful here that you're not locking out that right knee. We can pretty easily tweak the knee joint by locking it and then putting weight in it. So be very careful. That's why I tell you guys not to bring your hand to your thigh of your straight leg. And just settle on down here for a few more breaths in your hamstring stretch. Just trying to relax anywhere that you can in the body. Maybe coming back to that diaphragm visualization. Feeling that belly press against the thigh when you inhale. And very slowly start to lift up and out of your stretch. And drawing that right foot underneath you. Straighten out that left leg now. Arms come up. And exhale to rock back. Inhale to press forward. Exhale. And inhale. And if you need to take more than one breath in between, that's totally fine. You're trying to go for the maximum effort on an exhale. Back stays long the whole movement. And just be mindful your range of motion may be less and may be more than what I'm showing here. And that's really one of the beautiful things about our yoga practice is all of our bodies are going to look different performing all of these movements. It doesn't mean anything is wrong. The only time it's wrong is if you're pushing through sharpshooting, pinching pain, or if you're doing anything like locking a joint or anything like that. Okay, one more reach forward. I know those arms are burning a little bit, but as long as it's good muscle effort burning, try to stick with it. Lean back and hold, but keep breathing. Don't hold your breath. Really press that chest and solar plexus forward. Drop those shoulders down. See if you can lift that left leg. And keep breathing. Maybe even here in the effort, can you think about that diaphragm? And even here, as I'm working the abdominals, I feel on a deep inhale my belly expanding just a little bit. One more breath if you can. On your exhale, release that leg down. Start to reach forward. And relax the arms, shoulders. Whew. Getting a workout here in the arms today, unexpectedly. Or at least that's not the main focus today. So again, remember for our forward stretch here, make sure that left knee is not locked. Make sure your weight is on the right leg. Perhaps settling down to the elbow, but trying to maintain length in the spine. And see where you can relax here. Can you let go of any tension you might be holding on to? That is often our body trying to forcefully move or generate power from somewhere other than the core. Couple more deep breaths. And then on an inhale, slowly start to lift up. Drawing that left foot in. We'll take a vinyasa now, a forward fold and special back bend today to work on strengthening the back more. So remember your options for folding forward. You'll always start with an inhale to lift, and you'll always fold on an exhale, but it just depends on where you want to move your arms. So arms can trace down the legs on that exhale. You can inhale the arms up and open them out to the sides in a swan dive as you exhale, or you can inhale the arms up and keep them up as you exhale and fold forward. So it just depends on how much challenge you want today, and it may be different than the last practice. So everyone, whatever you decide to do, deep inhale and exhale to fold, trying to keep as much length in the spine as you can for as long as you can as you take that forward fold. And if it feels good to you and you don't get too dizzy or you don't have vertigo or anything of that nature, you can let the head drop down below the heart. Wonderful stretch to the back. I like to roll my shoulders out a little bit when I'm down here and just taking some nice easy breaths, or maybe even your diaphragmatic breathing. A little more challenging, folded forward. And everyone, start to lift up on an inhale. Hands can come to the thighs for support. Coming about halfway up. So I'm still leaning forward pretty far, but my back is able to be not rounded here. So I'm straightening it out. I'm going to hold here. Legs, glutes are engaging. On an inhale, lift those arms back. Palms are facing each other. Squeezing the shoulder blades together, pressing the shoulders down, almost like imagine someone's pulling those arms back behind you. And on an exhale, relax for a second. Stay in that forward posture. We're going to do this breath by breath now. Inhaling to locust. Exhaling to release. Inhaling to engage. Exhaling to release. Let's do that about 4 to 5 more times. Here's 4. 3. Core is engaged a little bit here too. It's not just all in the back. 2. Try to keep the neck neutral. No tucking and no extending. Last one. And exhale to release. Inhale to come all the way up to seated. From here, we'll move into Warrior 2 on the left side. So I'm going to shift my chair so you can see my body better as I guide you through these movements. But you are going to shift and kind of turn your hips about a 45-degree angle to the left so that you can get that left foot planted down. So you may also shift a little bit in the chair and try to open that right leg out along the same line as the left. That may not be possible for your body, and so you may be a little more of an angle with that right leg. But either way, what we're going for is trying to get the sole of that foot rooted down on the ground and that leg straight but not locked. Finding Warrior 2. So once I get here, I'm trying to lift up and out any amount, trying to drop that right hip down just a little bit because it's going to want to hike up and cause you to lean forward. So just trying to center. Chest is opening forward, and arms can come out if that feels accessible to you. So really pressing actively into the feet, even though most of your weight is in the chair. Let's take an inhale, bring that right hand either to the chair or your hip. Lift up. On your exhale, see if you can bring that left elbow to the left thigh and sweep that right arm out and up. And breathe here. Let's do that one more time. So inhale to initiate this back bending movement. Core is the main mover here. And breathe in your back bend. And to initiate the forward bend, or what's called extended side angle, we do so on an exhale. That arm sweeps out. If you can't quite get your elbow down like I'm doing, you can absolutely bring your hand to the chair. You're just trying to lean on a diagonal line in line with that back leg. And instead of letting this all kind of collapse forward, see if you can open that chest. All right, let's take one more with each posture. This time we're going to hold it a little bit longer. So inhale to initiate that back bend. Remember your option of bringing hand to the chair, especially since we're holding this a little bit longer this time. If gazing up, maybe you have vertigo or it causes you to be dizzy, don't push it here. So you can just gaze kind of straight ahead this way, straight ahead this way, or even down to the ground if that feels better. Just see where you can go. Traditionally, though, this reverse warrior is done looking up towards the ceiling. On an inhale, start to lift up and out. Bring this left hand either elbow to thigh or left hand to chair. And then sweep that right arm down and across and in line with the leg. Try to relax that left shoulder. Try to press it forward as you push the right shoulder back. And again, you can keep the neck neutral, or if you want to practice the full expression of the posture, you can look up under that arm. But if that strains the neck at all, or again makes you dizzy, it's just totally not worth it. So you can look straight ahead or down. On your next inhale, see if you can lift up from the core. Inhaling to lift. Couple more breaths here in Warrior Two. Stick with it if you can. If you would like to try to lift out of your chair, go for it. Maybe that hand comes to the seat of the chair to just kind of give you a little lift up. And then if you feel like, woof, my legs can't hold me anymore, chair is right there to support you. On an exhale, when you're ready to let it go, relax. Release those legs. Come back to center, maybe doing any kind of decompressive leg movements that feel good to you. Let's take one more vinyasa before switching sides. So finding seated Tadasana or mountain pose. Inhaling, either lifting arms or not. And exhaling to fold, keeping length for as long as you can, and then releasing all the way forward. Don't forget, you can always separate the feet a little bit wider than hip width to accommodate for the torso and abdomen. Relax here for a couple breaths, letting gravity traction the spine, create a little more space. Then on an inhale, slowly start to engage the back as you begin to lift up. Hands come to the thighs. We're going to work on locust some more. I'm going to turn my chair this way. Just again so you can see what my back is doing a little bit more. So you're coming to about the halfway point. Glutes are engaging. You're feeling a little more weight in the feet. Inhale, arms lift, palms facing each other, squeezing the shoulder blades together, pressing the shoulders down. Exhale, release. You're also going to feel this engage the triceps a lot. Inhale, straighten, lift, lengthen. Let's bring it out and hold it this time, but keep breathing. So you're keeping that engagement. If you'd like to try to tap back of your chair with the right hand, then the left, just to distract you a little bit from this muscle effort and holding. Also strengthening the obliques a little bit, and a muscle along the spine called the quadratus lumborum, or QL. It's responsible for our side bending. Oh yeah, work it, y'all. One more tap to each side if you're tapping, or holding one more breath if you're just holding. And on an exhale, release. Sit all the way up. Loosen it up if you need to. Let's get ready for Warrior 2 on the other side. And then we'll do a brief little standing balance and strength exercise. So situating at about a 45-degree angle, getting that front foot set up, and then working with that back foot. And remember, if you can't straighten it out along the same line, that is A-okay. Just try to straighten it out along a diagonal or anywhere in between. Try to root that foot down. The more you practice this, the more you'll get that mobility in the ankle to be able to do this. So don't get too frustrated with yourself. I know it's human nature to do so, but I'm telling you, it's okay to just, all right. So once you're situated, arms come out, shoulders are down. Core is what's lifting your body up, not the shoulders, not the arms. So I see a lot of times in my yoga classes, arms about like level with the eyes, or arms are down but shoulders are lifted, or both. So try to hone in on those external power sources. Try to bring it from the powerhouse itself. And let's release that left hand either to the seat or the hip. Inhale to back bend. Remember about where you look. Totally up to you. Come out of that back bend. Move into your extended side angle or forward bend. So hand can come to the chair or elbow to the thigh, and sweep that top arm up and out. We'll do that 2 more times. The last time, holding for several breaths. So inhaling into your back bend, taking just a breath, and then inhaling to lift up and out, and exhaling into your side angle. Arm sweeps forward and around. The reason why we do that instead of just lifting it up is it's much better for the shoulder joint and brings you into more of a neutral position with that shoulder. So it is important how you get there, not just getting there. Inhale up. Let's take a good hold here now. So I recommend left hand to the chair. Inhaling up. Trying to relax the shoulders as much as possible so that left elbow will bend. And we're trying to stretch here in the front of the body as much as possible along that right side. Keeping the chest open, abdomen open. On an inhale, lift out, and let's hold extended side angle. So hand can come to the chair, elbows bent to accommodate for that side reach. If you're pretty flexible in this forward bend, absolutely bring that elbow, well, really not the elbow, that'll be uncomfortable, but the forearm to the thigh. Try to open that chest forward. So I'm trying to push that right shoulder forward as I press the left shoulder back. Excuse me. Have been drinking enough water. inhale to lift up. Holding here in Warrior Two just for a breath or two while I go get some water. Remember, lifting up from the core. One more deep inhale. And exhale, relax. Relax the legs. Shake it out. Come back to neutral here in your chair. Get ready to come up to standing. So remember your options, coming up with support, however you need to, or coming up through chair pose. And if you haven't tried chair pose yet, but you've been doing this practice every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, why don't you give it a shot today? Unless your concern for it is balance and falling, and you don't have a good setup where maybe there's another piece of furniture here that you can kind of hold on to, or if you're near a wall, which is probably not the case if you're watching on your TV, but you never know. So if balance is your worry, then probably don't push it too much today. But if you have before been like, oh, I'm not strong enough to do that, try it out. Just give it a shot. So you're coming to the very edge of the chair, bringing those feet in under you. Heels will probably be lifted until you start to shift that weight forward. Even then, they might be a little lifted. But you're trying to sink those heels down. Hands come forward. Powerful glute engagement. Squeeze. Engage those quads. Lift up. Try to hold here. See if you can lift the arms and chest any amount more, staying in that chair pose. Utkatasana. One more breath if you're holding it. Straighten out. Deep inhale. And exhale. Nice. All right. One little balance and strength quickie before we take our final stretch and release. So, facing your chair, we're going to come into a posture called goddess pose. And if any of you are familiar with ballet, this is basically second position. And so you're taking a wide stance with the feet. So I don't know if you can tell very well from your angle, but my feet are a little wider than shoulder width apart right now. And my toes are angling out. So you're trying to get a 45-degree angle or even more external rotation at the hip if you can, but we don't want to force it. We don't want to tweak the knees. So I would say 45 degrees with those feet. Now, chair is a little bit in front of us. I don't want to be touching my chair here. I want there to be a little bit of space. And what we're going to do is sit down into a squat or plie. So we're coming down, trying to just come straight down. So I want to make sure I'm not poking back and then poking forward. So I'm engaging that solar plexus space, coming straight down, knees pushing out. So really engaging those glutes as well to open those knees out. All right. Where are we going from here? So you're going to start to shift the weight over to the left side, and at the same time, send that left arm forward. So you're going to shift, straighten that right leg, and then come back down, shift, right, left leg straightens, right arm. So a little bit of coordination here, testing the mental faculties, testing the mind-body connection, testing the balance, testing the strength. We're just kind of doing it all right now, and flexibility. So coming down in the middle, same arm extends as the side that you're shifting your weight into. Core stays engaged. If you're feeling a little too wobbly to send a hand out, then just keep the hands here on the chair. This is also great for the feet, rolling through the ankles, moving side to side like this. So let's just do a couple more. And then we're going to practice holding a little bit to each side. Okay, next time you come to the left, see if you can hold it here and lift that right leg any amount. Even if you have to drop it and lift it again, see what you can manage here. Deep breaths, core stays engaged. Don't forget it. It's easy to forget. All right, and let's hold to the other side. One more goddess. Shift over to that right side. Remember, both hands can stay on the chair if you need that support for your balance. Find your focus point. Keep breathing. Keep lifting. Not from the shoulders, but from the core. And release. Nice work. Shake it out a little bit. For our cool down stretch today, we'll be doing a wide-legged forward fold. If you have knee issues, if you've tweaked your knees in any way recently, then you'll stick with a standing downward facing dog. I'll kind of show both as we walk through. So, hands coming to the chair. Just start to slowly walk those feet back, straightening out the spine a little bit. Feet are hip width apart. Now you may stay here in your downward dog, just tractioning out the back, stretching out the whole back of the body. And to get into those hips a little bit more, you can kind of shift into one hip. Definitely hold it longer than I'm showing, but I just want to do a quick demo. And then the other. If you would like to go for the wide-legged forward fold, you're going to just start to kind of heel and then toe those feet a little bit further apart. And settle down here. Make sure you're not locking the knees. This is a great way to get into the inner thighs a little bit more for your stretching. So wherever you ended up, try to release the chest, head, all of that down. Micro bend in the knees. Couple more deep breaths for the stretch. Even in your forward fold or wide-legged forward fold, you can bend into one knee and then the other just to shift that stretch a little bit side to side. And when you're ready to come up, if you're in the wide-legged stance, again, just heel, toe, those feet back together. Slowly start to walk the feet forward. And make sure that you're not too dizzy before you let go. And let's get ready for final relaxation. So this is arguably one of the most important parts of our practice. As we've done all the hard work for the body, for the mind, for connecting the two, the breath work. And this is our opportunity to integrate all of that work, to let it settle in, and to really sink into that connection and hopefully then apply it beyond just today's practice. So get comfy. You can recline back in your chair. You can come down to the ground. I'm going to demo that real quick. You definitely will probably move slower than this, but what you'll do is using the chair for all of this. And I definitely wouldn't come down on the ground if you are on a hard floor, a hard surface, unless you have a yoga mat set out under your chair. But you're going to come down. Typically, most people find it more comfortable to kind of come down into this sort of position, to maybe come to the knees, if that's okay with your knees. And again, you're just leaning into the support of that chair as much as you need it. Now, to make this easier, it's really important that you shift your hips practically to touching your chair. So that way, once you come down, you don't have to adjust as much. Also, you're going to want to scoot to the very corner or leg of the chair, because once you do come down, recommend coming down to the side and then kind of flopping onto your back. That way, you're already positioned. There's very minimal shifting you need to do to get those legs up in the chair. And so, once you've gotten comfortable wherever you've decided to relax today, go ahead and bring the hands to the solar plexus. Just keeping that connection with this space. And trying to allow just a wave of relaxation starting at that space and washing down towards the legs, up towards the shoulders and the head, and out towards the arms. Just letting that wave wash over the joints and the muscles. Finding a sense of release. Knees fall open a little bit to the sides. The body becomes heavy, full, relaxed. Notice your breath at the space of the hands. Even when we don't control the breathing, the diaphragm's doing its work. The belly rises and falls. Settle in. Notice how your body feels so relaxed and so heavy, as if it's merging into the chair or the ground underneath you. And then, with your next few breaths, begin to breathe a sense of lightness, of weightlessness into the body with each inhale, transforming that heavy dullness with light, brightness. Maybe even envisioning with each inhale this radiating out of golden light from that space of the solar plexus. Your powerhouse, your center of energy and effort and strength. And begin to breathe that movement and lightness and brightness down into the toes and the fingers. Moving the ankles and the wrists. Maybe even stretching out the arms and the legs. Even if you're relaxing in the chair, maybe you're pushing that chair away a little bit. Stretching out those legs. And blink your eyes open whenever you're ready. Excuse me. If you are in the chair, you got a little more effort to come up. You can totally hang out there as long as you need to. But definitely best to try to roll to the side. Get those hips stacked. So rolling all the way to that side. Using that top arm, pressing into the ground at the same time as you straighten out that top leg. So kind of using that momentum and that combined effort to shift you from your reclined position. Use that chair as much as you need to. Some people find it easier to shift the legs away from the chair and use the chair to come up onto their knees. or onto their feet. But again, take your time. And thank you all so much for joining me today. And I hope that this sense of power that we tapped into just stays with you through every thought, action, and word throughout your day to day and hopefully moving forward. If you have any questions, comments, you know where to send them. Email me or call me. And if you're not sure where to find my contact information, it is on the hub in the directory, or you can always call the front desk. And I'll see you next time. Bye.